What's going on, you guys? Tyler, your wandering therapist here. We got a doozy of a question that came through this week, and so I just wanted to pause and maybe have a quick discussion about the question, pose it to everybody so you can understand it, and then talk a little bit about some of the principles inside of it that might be helpful. Just something to think about. So this came from, the name that was submitted was No Doubt. So this is for you, No Doubt. The question was, in essence, how do I forgive and move on for my husband who watches gay porn and spies on my father through the home security cameras? He says that he'll change, but nothing ever changes. So this is a tough one here. I mean, obviously there's a whole wide range of emotions that you inevitably must be going through when you find out that, you know, there's the dishonesty piece of it, there's the hiding piece of it, there's the sexual acting out piece of it, there's the nature of the sexual acting out piece of it when you're in what you think is a monogamous marriage, and now there's some kind of acting out that seems to threaten that. And then there's the relational aspect of it with your father. There's a lot there. And so I guess I just want to first stop and acknowledge that you've probably got a whole bunch of emotions going on, ranging from bewilderment to hopelessness, to anger, to rage, to resentment, and it would make sense that you're struggling with the process of forgiveness. And so I just want to acknowledge that first. It's a challenge to not be able to have a conversation with you because I don't know all of the details, so I'll just speak in a couple of principles here that might be helpful for you to consider. The first one is that in the process of forgiveness is a personal thing on learning to free your own heart. And so it's not really about even repairing the relationship with your husband yet. It's about figuring out what your heart needs to be able to find peace inside of your situation. And that might include a certain level of boundaries work to help you to not be resentful, to help you to be at peace, to then be able to make different decisions. So forgiveness in this context and the way that you ask the question is almost like you're asking, how do I reconcile and keep going with a happy marriage? And right now, if there's not the actual action that's taking place towards fidelity inside the relationship, towards accountability, towards humility, then part of the forgiveness process would warrant some boundaries that might help you protect yourself, emotional or physical boundaries, where you might need to go to your husband and say, I know you're giving me lip service right now, but there doesn't seem to be any action that's taking place towards something different. And the action that's taking place towards something different needs to be your action towards developing the ideals of the man you want to be, and not you just trying to get me to come along. And so part of your forgiveness process is actually probably in this case going to be some level of boundaries work. You need to protect your father. You need to make sure that your husband does not have access to those security cameras anymore. That's something that would help you to be more at peace with at least that aspect of it. And then in terms of the other parts of it, if you get the sense that he's still being dishonest, if you don't sense that there's action taking place, it's okay for you to ask for some time or some space, whether that's physical distance, emotional distance, whatever it is, for you to be able to get your feet planted underneath you. Because if that's actively always going on, it's going to make the ground feel like waves underneath your feet, and it's going to be hard to be planted. And when you're not planted, you can't make as good of decisions as you want to. And that's why that resentment's going to come in. So set the right boundaries, ask for take the right amount of space, and wait for the actions to start to line up with the words that he's telling you. It's probably been something that you've been through over and over and over again, and he's used to just being able to get you to come along by saying he's going to do something different, and then maybe it changes for a little short period of time, a week or two, and then as soon as you go back to normal, he goes back to normal, and that's not how it needs to work anymore. His recovery needs to be tied to something different than your actions. So take your actions for you. Ask your heart what your heart needs to be able to move on. And remember that the forgiveness process does not necessarily mean reconciliation. Sometimes the forgiveness process requires release. And release means letting go of the outcomes and then making choice, sometimes letting go of the actual relationship itself. So I don't know your situation. I hope that your husband is actually sincere in his wants and desires to change. I suspect that his heart has a piece that wants to change, and now it's time for the actions to step up into that place where his heart is. And he needs to do it for himself and not for you. So one thing that helps with the process of forgiveness too is to remember that, and this is very, very difficult when you're going through what you're going through, is that you need extra support besides your husband. So I hope you have a good team. I hope you have somebody who's there to be able to kind of understand and hold some of this stuff that you're going through, this grief and this wave of emotion that you're having. But you also can start to look at what's happening by holding on to the bitterness. The fact is that the more you hold on to that bitterness, the more that it's your own suffering that you're incurring, even though it's not fair, even though it's not right. And so figuring out a place, maybe that wrestle with your higher power to keep continually over and over again, recognizing that that suffering is there and giving it over to something bigger than yourself, and then setting healthy boundaries to live within your value system. Because it sounds like your values are being challenged really strongly right now. So I will hope the very, very best for you. I hope the best for your husband. I hope the best for your father. And I really, really appreciate you reaching out with the question. Hopefully this is helpful for you. And thank you. Have a great day. Thank you so much for being here with me. If you found this to be valuable for you, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you're facing particular struggles that you need help with or roadblocks that you're running into, please submit a question. I'd be happy to answer it for you.